Hey guys, welcome back to A Page in the Chapter, or welcome if you are new here. My name is Paige and today we're going through my best books of the year so far. I thought that this would just be a kind of fun little mid-year check-in. I know I did the mid-year book freakout tag last week, but I just wanted an opportunity to properly go through what have been my favourite books so far. And some of these are a little bit surprising, like the fact that they're favourites doesn't necessarily reflect in the reviews. Not all of these are 5-star books, not all of these are books that at the time I thought were going to be standout books, but they're all ones that have really stayed with me. I have 7 books to share with you, one for every month of the year so far. Obviously we have not finished July yet. I already have a pick that I could use for July, so I'm going to talk to you about it. I have a feeling July is not going to be a super duper good reading month, so I'm pretty sure that this one will be the standout of this month as well. So if you guys like seeing this face on your screen twice a week, then do please feel free to hit that big red subscribe button down below. I upload every single Wednesday and every single Friday, so there is no shortage of bookish content here for you to enjoy. And if that is somehow not enough for you, then do feel free to check me out on Instagram and Twitter at Page in Chapter so you can see what I'm reading and how I'm reviewing it in real time. I hope that you guys enjoy this video and you get some new fun books from it. And without further ado, let's get into the reviews. So the January pick for this video is These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. I have not been quiet about my Chloe Gong obsession this year. I have pre-ordered her next book. I will be pre-ordering her book after that and her book after that. I just really like Chloe Gong. I'd been wanting to read this book for a while anyway. This is a Romeo and Juliet retelling set in 1920 Shanghai, but it's also mobs and there's monsters. Very intricate but also still very accessible for a YA audience, but it still has some of that oomph that you might be looking for as an older reader of YA. And this book just had to be a favourite, not only because of how much I enjoyed the plotline and the political elements and the mysterious intrigue. It's somehow a YA fantasy and mystery and romance all in one. And not only because I enjoy Chloe Gong's TikTok so much, but also just because this duology made me want to start writing. I haven't really touched the story that I started drafting whilst I was reading this in a good couple months, but I still think that the book had to be exceptional for me to want to do that, so this is the favourites pick for January. So then I did originally start the year off fairly strong with only reading the sequels. I was supposed to really make a dent in finishing some of the series I'd started in the first 6 months of this year. Didn't do it. I had such faith in myself and I started off so strong and it just completely fell off the wagon. But anyway, the February book pick is The Dragon Republic by R.F. Kuang. This is the second book in the Poppy War trilogy, and I very recently hauled the third book, so this series is really keeping me interested. So the Poppy War trilogy is a high fantasy military storyline following our main character Rin, and she is accepted into a very prestigious military academy where she finds that her calling is to become a shaman and commune with the gods and use that in a war setting. It's a very, very unstable political climate in the Empire, and when war breaks out, Rin is forced to go from strategizing war in a classroom to actually being part of a war. And it's not light reading. It has a lot of trigger warnings, it has a lot of content warnings, it is very dark and very heavy, but also very, very, very good if you can stomach those things and get past those things and understand that you're going to read about heinous war atrocities. It's a very, very, very good series so far. And what I particularly loved about this book was this intentional double standard between the way crimes against our side in the war was written compared to how them carrying out the same things was written. It really just showed this who is really wrong in a war when both sides so strongly believe that what they're doing is for the greater good and what they're doing will prevent war in the future, and when both sides are doing such heinous, horrible things and it reaches a point where they're kind of just doing it to get back at each other, then it's really difficult to see like who is actually like evil in a setting like this, and it's just so interesting to read. This is definitely February's pick. And then the pick for March, I have talked about so much on this channel. I genuinely think it might be my all-time favourite book of like the year so far, potentially ever, but definitely the year so far, and that is Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune. I knew that I loved this when I finished it, but I feel like it's been lately, like now that I've had a couple months to sit with it and I'm looking back on it again, it's like I've had this newfound like absolute obsession with it. So this follows our main character, Wallace, and he is really having trouble accepting the fact that he has died. And when he realises that he's at his own funeral and barely anyone's turned up, and the people that did don't have very nice things to say about him or aren't particularly sad about his death, he realises that he really needs to buck up his ideas, and so he kind of refuses to cross over because he wants to learn more about his life in death. And thus, when he's given another chance to be a nicer person and live more, kind of has a week to live a whole lifetime in a small period of time. And it's just the most heartwarming, beautiful book. Kind of all takes place at this little tea shop that exists within life and death, and you've got all these little like ghosties, and it's just so cute and cozy, but also again a very sad book in a way. It's very hopeful, but also very sad. I cannot recommend this book enough. I'm sure a lot of people have already read it, but I just loved it so much. And then April's pick is Terms and Conditions by Lauren Asher. I personally preferred this book over the fine print, so I'm talking about this one instead of the fine print. But I feel like the fine print is a very nostalgic read for me in terms of like it just makes me think of Magical Hopathon Round 2, and like Rachel and I getting really excited about going to Disney and like the Disney setting, and then the build up to going to Disney. I just feel like the fine print has like a really happy feeling for me to look back on. But because I found this book better, I feel like I'm going to use this book as the representation for this series. But really I'm talking about the series as a whole. But anyway, the Dreamland Billionaire series follows three brothers, and their grandfather is like this Walt Disney type of figure, and when he dies he says that they will get their inheritance when each brother kind of completes a set task that is left in the will. So in the fine print, the first one, our main character is told that he has to go to Dreamland, which is Disney World, and he has to like be the director of Dreamland for 6 months and turn it around and discover weaknesses in the park and present his ideas to a board, and if this board agrees with his ideas and agrees to implement them, then he'll get his inheritance. Our main character in this book, Declan, is given a set period of time in which he has to marry and have children and settle down so that he can become a softer, warmer, more understanding CEO and thus be like just a better human. And so this particular book is a fake dating trope between Declan and his assistant Iris, and I loved this book more. I think the fake dating trope was just better, and I loved the way it was handled. It felt very believable the way it was handled, and I was like really just kept on the edge of my seat. And this still has that like Dreamland Disney like nostalgia to it, but this book as a whole, because it's not set fully in Dreamland, just feels a little bit older and more mature, and I enjoyed that. I feel like Lauren Asher's writing just got a little bit better in this book, and I really enjoyed it. My May pick was not a 5-star read, actually, and it wasn't a book that I thought would be a favourite. It was a book that I was kind of prepared to dislike, and that is Throttled by Lauren Asher. So this is book 1 in her Dirty Air series, which is a Formula One romance series that Lauren Asher writes. This is how I first heard of Lauren Asher, but the Dreamland Billionaire series was the first books of hers that I read. And I just had like genuine curiosity about these books. When I do finish all of the books that are out, I do plan on putting out a vlog of me kind of reviewing all of them from a Formula One fan's perspective to see if they're actually like any good. Do they continue to perpetualize this idea that women only like Formula One because the drivers are attractive? because that was a big worry that I had for this book. Whilst I won't give you the full in-depth thoughts, because as I said, at some point there will be a vlog of that, this book was so much fun and genuinely like has not stayed with me in a like I really felt something towards it way, but just stayed with me in a I just look at this series as such good fun. I want to read the rest. I would reread this again. I would recommend this to my friends if they're looking for a sporty romance. Yeah, I just found it really fun. I feel like this should just be May's pick because it's the one that stands out to me the most as being like a really fun May read. I feel like once I got past the reality of Formula One and could just see this book as its own Formula One with its own teams and its own characters, and I stopped trying to figure out what character was based on which real Formula One driver, it just got a lot better and easier to read. So I would recommend this. This particular book follows Noah, who races for Bandini, and he gets a new teammate and then he falls in love with his teammate's sister. So it gets all very dramatic on the pit lane in the fictional Formula One world. And so that brings us to June, which was my birthday month, and I really didn't read a lot in June. The only books in June that I really read were the books that I read for my Reading Like Taylor Swift because I'm turning 22 video. So you kind of already know what books those are, you kind of already know which ones I liked, which ones I didn't like. But my choice for this video was surprising to me. I was fully thinking that Rebecca was my favourite book from that video. I remember loving the experience of reading Rebecca. It made me want to read a lot more Daphne du Maurier, and I just genuinely loved that book. It is one of my favourite like classics, modern classics, whatever you want to consider Rebecca. But the one that has like stuck with me the most, and the one that I feel like it just gets brownie points for being super surprising because I fully went into the book expecting to hate it, is Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney. I just was expecting to detest Sally Rooney's writing and her stories. It doesn't sound like anything I would particularly like. I don't really like general literature. I don't really like character-driven stories. I don't really like this millennials with ennui type of storyline, and I really thought the lack of quotation marks would like really get to me, but you don't actually notice it when you read it. You just kind of flip between the two seamlessly, and I quite like the fact that in some cases you don't know if something is said out loud or said in our main character's head, and that was just an element that I wasn't expecting to like, but I really did. But this follows our main characters Francis and Bobby, and they are best friends going to university in Dublin. They're 21. And when they make friends with a couple called Nick and Melissa, things start to get a little bit complicated because they make really good friends with them, but then Francis and Nick start to grow very close, and it all just gets very complicated and interesting, and I just wasn't expecting to like it, like at all. I've now purchased another Sally Rooney book. I feel like this one really stayed with me. I feel like I did quite enjoy the hopefulness of the ending, and again, the like 20-year-old ennui related to it so hard. Like genuinely loved it. Was the reason that I then wanted to read another Sally Rooney book, because I just feel like I want more characters who don't have a clue of what they're doing in their 20s and completely mess it up. This one absolutely like shocked me that I wanted to talk about it in this video. My brain is absolutely fried, but yeah, I'm now a Sally Rooney girly. I guess I'm like that girl now because Sally Rooney is a that girl author, so. And that brings us to the final book of this video, which I literally finished last night. It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. I said that I was waiting for a heatwave to read this book. It's absolutely sweltering in the UK right now, so I got what I wanted. This is a Schitt's Creek inspired rom-com about a Hollywood it girl named Piper, and her stepfather kind of exiles her to a small town in the Pacific Northwest where she is originally from, so that she can get back to her roots and like learn the meaning of life and money and to not be a spoiled brat. Except in the process she meets Brendan and a bunch of other like small town locals who really help her change her perception of herself and what living in LA is truly like. And I just wasn't expecting to like this book as much as I did. It's a really big book, yet it managed to keep me gripped the whole way. The whole like Schitt's Creek inspiration thing as well, like you could really see Alexis in Piper, but also Piper was very much her own character still. And I just really loved the character development of Piper. I was worried it would be too harsh or too sudden, but it wasn't. It was very, very slow and seamless. Kind of all came together very seamlessly, and you kind of see it from beginning to end in like one smooth movement, and that is how I like my character development to be, and this was a complete hit. So I don't really see any other book this month topping it. Obviously, stay tuned for my wrap up to see if that's true, but I just really wanted to talk about this book because I finished it last night and it really took me by surprise. I'm going to have to read a lot more Tessa Bailey. I also didn't realise that this book and Hook, Line and Sinker were connected, so I'm really glad that I, like, just by chance decided to buy this book first. So yeah, just be aware that the two books are actually like in the same world and series and following characters that you meet in this book. So here are the 7 best books of the 7 months that we have experienced of 2022 so far. I am having a pretty good reading year. I've obviously had a massive slump and some massive like time away from BookTube, and it hasn't been a perfect year, but I do feel like I'm having a lot of fun with my reading when I am reading, and that's all that I can really ask for. If you guys like this video and you would like to see more from me, then do please feel free to hit that big red subscribe button down below and stay tuned for future content. I hope that you guys have enjoyed this video and you've got something from it. Again, do feel free to check me out on Instagram and Twitter at Page and Chapter. And now I have to get going. I am absolutely sweltering in 30-degree weather in front of a ring light, and my camera battery is running out, so I've got to run. I also have a hair appointment in like an hour and I've got to drive. I'm very stressed out. So thank you guys very, very much for watching. I do hope that you have enjoyed. I hope you guys are having a fantastic week. You're enjoying everything that you are reading, and there are no reading slumps in your future. And I will see you on Friday for my next video. Bye guys.